A severed hand sold as a magic charm. A botched beheading where witnesses swore the devil replaced one head with three. And a sober, pious killer who logged over 300 executions in pink stockings. All three are real. The medieval executioner was the best paid man in town and the one nobody would touch. To understand why, you need to see what the job actually demanded. Late medieval Europe was a violent, unstable world. Constant wars, feudal feuds, and peasant uprisings tore through the countryside, while crop failures, famine, and the plague decimated the population. Outside the town gates, roads were crowded with armed deserters, poachers, vagrants, and unemployed mercenaries who killed for bread. Inside the walls, ordinary life was barely safer. Almost every man carried a knife or a dagger, meaning a simple market dispute or tavern argument routinely ended in a stabbing. This perpetual threat of chaos made private vengeance an immediate danger. If a family took revenge themselves, it sparked endless, bloody feuds. To survive, towns and lords had to strip the power of violence away from the mob and centralize it. By the late Middle Ages, informal local lynchings gave way to structured, state-sanctioned punishment managed by a salaried civic official. The executioner became the physical manifestation of law. His scaffold offered a brutal, highly visible theater of deterrence. In a world of near-constant disorder, he took his place as the only visible guarantee that authority still existed, acting as the era's final judge. A municipal executioner earned a handsome salary, often comparable to a city physician or schoolmaster. Yet, this wealth bought no entry into respectable society. In cities like Strasbourg, the executioner's home was built far from the central market, pushed to the peripheral streets near the city walls, or banished outside them entirely. This physical exile mirrored a total civic death. The man paid to enforce the law was stripped of the very rights he protected. He was denied citizenship, barred from public office, and forbidden from participating in standard legal transactions. The exclusion followed him into the spiritual and personal realms. Catholic churches often turned him away at the threshold, seated him at the back near the drafty doors, or forced priests to demand days of rigorous fasting before hearing his confession. When his wife went into labor, local midwives frequently refused to cross his threshold. If he sought a drink after a long day on the scaffold, local taverns turned him away, unwilling to lose regular patrons who refused to drink from a cup touched by the unclean. Society legally grouped the executioner with other, defiled trades, gravediggers, tanners, and butchers, rendering him a social pariah. With ordinary citizens refusing any contact, executioner families had no choice but to marry among themselves, forming tight, isolated dynasties spanning across different regions. This forced intermarriage ensured that sons had no choice but to inherit their father's grim trade. Even the public nicknames stripped them of humanity, branding these men as the Crusher, the Breaker, or simply the Butcher. Long before the condemned reached the gallows, the executioner operated as the court's primary investigator. In an era without fingerprinting or modern forensic science, the law relied on physical pain to extract truth. Minor offenses met swift physical correction. Rod floggings punished adultery and broken marriage promises, while other floggings merely served as a prelude to permanent banishment. For petty crimes, the executioner used his shears and irons to slice off ears or sever fingers. When investigations stalled, courts sometimes turned to supernatural tests, waiting to see if a corpse would spontaneously bleed when the murderer approached. When that failed, the executioner resorted to psychological pressure, simply presenting the suspect with the tools of the question. If sight alone failed, physical coercion began. Thumbscrews, red-hot pincers, the leg-crushing Spanish boots, and the rack formed an escalating sequence of agony. This systematic violence served as the legal system's crude surrogate for evidence. Yet the entire apparatus collapsed under one fatal, undeniable truth. Under enough pain, a suspect will confess to absolutely anything. The public scaffold was not a place of chaotic slaughter. It was a highly orchestrated state liturgy. A scripted procession marched the condemned through jeering crowds, led by guards, a priest reciting prayers, and the executioner himself. This theater of power calibrated shame as precisely as pain.
common criminals faced agonizing ends: drowning in sacks, burning, quartering, or being buried alive beneath the gallows. The breaking wheel offered a grim spectrum of torment. Starting at the legs meant a slow, excruciating death, while a strike to the neck was a deliberate mercy. Simple hanging carried a deep, lingering humiliation, leaving the body to dangle and rot in public view. By contrast, beheading was a swift privilege reserved for the highborn. When King Philip IV of France punished 2 knights for treason, their noble rank dictated a swift decapitation rather than the gallows. Yet even elite status had limits. When the infamous Baron Gilles de Rais was condemned for exceptional crimes, his wealth only delayed the inevitable. He was hanged and burned, proving that the theater of justice ultimately claimed everyone. While some regions favored the axe, others elevated the sword as the ultimate legal symbol. This purpose-built hand-and-a-half weapon featured a blunt tip, crafted purely for a single, clean decapitation. Many of these blades bore engravings invoking law and retribution, yet this tool carried extreme risk. A single botched strike could instantly incite a riot, costing the executioner his career or his life. Folklore blamed these horrific failures on the devil, claiming he tricked the headsman by replacing one target with 3. Guilds even advised covering the condemned with black cloth and aiming for the middle head. In reality, the culprit was far less supernatural: heavy drinking before stepping onto the scaffold.
Around the turn of the 17th century, Nuremberg was home to Franz Schmidt, a man who upends the stereotype of the sadistic brute. For 45 years, townspeople knew him as Master Franz. His surviving diary, containing 361 entries, shows a sober professional deeply concerned with justice and fairness. Schmidt did not relish pain. He valued protocol. After every execution, he performed a vital legal ritual. He turned to the presiding magistrate and formally asked if he had performed his duty properly. Only after receiving the judge's public confirmation did Schmidt clean his blade, proving he acted not as a murderer, but as the sober instrument of the law. Away from the scaffold, the executioner operated as a busy municipal handyman. He spent mornings repairing gallows, greasing ropes, and buying firewood for the stakes. When not managing death, the city paid him to haul rotting animal carcasses, clear street garbage, and supervise local brothels. His hands-on knowledge of anatomy, gained from patching up torture victims, made him a sought-after folk healer. But his most lucrative work lay in the black market for human remains. He sold criminal fat, bone ash, and severed limbs. Chief among these was the Hand of Glory, the pickled hand of a hanged thief, prized by burglars to paralyze sleeping victims. The executioner did not wear a black mask or scarlet robe. Those were 19th century romantic fantasies. Renaissance illustrations depict them barefaced in ordinary middle-class clothes. Some cities mandated yellow or green, while Nuremberg's Franz Schmidt performed his duties in blue breeches and pink stockings. The French Revolution briefly transformed these outcasts into citizens and avengers of the people. But the guillotine mechanized the craft, stripping away its personal touch. The Sanson dynasty epitomized this transition. Charles Henri executed Louis XVI, and his son Henri executed Marie Antoinette. By 1847, the final Sanson, Henri Clément, had pawned the state's guillotine to pay his gambling debts, earning a swift dismissal. Which medieval job should we investigate next? Let us know in the comments, and subscribe for more untold history. We still demand clean hands while outsourcing our darkest necessities. The executioner's paradox remains a modern mirror. Comment below on which medieval job deserves the next file. Subscribe for more untold history.